Long distance running is the first sport I'm going to speak about. I'm going to talk about it at elite standard. They're still targeting all ages of both males and females, trying to produce some top long distance runners in the island. It'll be very different from other levels because it is elite. They are really going to be training a lot and doing both strength conditioning and looking at nutrition and psychology and other aspects to be able to become the best performer that they can. One of the initiatives is the One Foundation Strength Conditioning Program project. They are really trying to put a big emphasis on strength conditioning because they're starting to believe that is something that can really make a difference in running. And by getting stronger and more powerful, therefore it's going to help them to become the best runner that they can. One Foundation is a professional provider. This means that they are also a private provider. They're a mix of them together, but they do get some money from the government from sports development to try and improve long distance running within the island. And some of that money will go towards this. One Foundation is run at the Fort Region in the tunnels at the back where the archery. It is free for all athletes as they do not have to pay to go to the sessions. However, the sport as a foundation do have to pay a small amounts to cover running costs and maintenance of all the equipment. This costs about £3,000 a year. But there is pretty much unlimited numbers allowed. However, there is certain criteria that you have to meet to be allowed to join the programme. These are: you have to be in the top 50 in the UK, or you have to be competing regularly at county level. There are 4 coaches that work at the One Foundation Strength Conditioning Programme. This is John Scriven, who is the main coach. He is highly regarded and has a lot of qualifications in this area. The basic aim of the One Foundation Strength Conditioning Programme is to become the best athlete that you can and improve in all specific aspects of fitness that are needed for sport. So in the case of running, they would try to improve such thing as strength, so that each stride that they take in running makes it easier and easier, so they can run for longer and quicker, so they can run the best times they can. Also, they give all athletes an insight into nutrition, so they can eat well and prepare for all their training and events. Overall, this program has been very successful, and they have seen a number of athletes become very successful over the years. 10 athletes are going to the Island Games this summer to compete from the island, which has gone up a lot since the last one. It's been very appropriate as well, as there are a number of different sessions that all the athletes can go to throughout the week. An example of this is it massively helped Elliot Dorey. He never used to eat before a race because he used to get nervous, and this has showed him how he needs to eat before a race so he's fueled and ready. Lastly, there's a lot of cross-cutting. There's not really a lot of cross-cutting agendas for the One Foundation because it's targeting elite athletes. It means that most of them are already not really causing any antisocial behaviour because they are already focused on their sport and want to do the best they can. Next sport's rugby. I'm going to speak about this. Is aiming at participation level. Participation level is all about getting people who are already involved in a sport playing a little bit more seriously, so that they can move on from the foundation level and start to become the best players that they can, and looking at see who has a natural ability to become better players in the future. At this level, they look at doing a lot more competition at a good, fairly high standard. For rugby in Jersey, they still target all ages from age of 7 upwards. I would say that at younger age it's more foundation, but they start to move into participation for the majority of the academy until you get up to about 40, where you move into the veterans, and then you go back down to foundation. You're just playing as you want to, really. The Hampshire League is probably the main place where participation level happens, and they start to join things like the Hampshire Cup and get fairly good competition. The level's slightly different from others because it's beginning to look at players with natural ability and maybe who can push forward into performance and elite levels. But again, things are not taken massively seriously. The initiative for rugby is the Rugby Club Academy. It's starting to move all through the different levels, but mainly participation. There's around 1,000 kids in the academy at the moment, aged from 7 all the way through to the veterans. All the Hampshire League start at under 13s. The provider is of the rugby club is a private provider. The reason for this is because you have to be able to play. There's a chairman and a committee that also are not paid, and they also volunteer as well. So it's a mixture of different providers. There's a very high running cost to this, so they do have to have a large number of sponsors to be able to do it. Each group in the academy gets £10,000 a year to go towards trips for everyone, and they say that everyone in each different age group must have at least one trip away a year. Each of the teams also have a volunteer manager and coach who consult with Bill Dempsey, the chairman, to see if everything's going smoothly. The aim of this is to try and promote rugby throughout the age groups and see who has potential to become better players in the future. It's been very, very effective because over the last 2 years they have seen an increase in 400 members in the rugby club. It's very appropriate also because it's cheap and most people can afford it. It's only £20 a year membership. It has quite a lot of cross-cutting agendas because it means that it gives younger kids something to do and they get something to focus on in the future. Lastly, the last initiative we'll speak about is schools tennis, and this is going to be aimed at foundation. The foundation level is literally aimed at younger kids, mainly around 5 to 8 years old, so they can just get a basic introduction into a sport and see if they like it, and maybe they can move on as they get a bit older. It's a lot different from other ones because it's literally just a club for enjoyment, basically. There's a partnership between the government and the LTA and Caesar Tennis Club. The government pay the Caesarean to go into different schools and to coach all the different children and give them an insight into tennis, but they also get some funding from the LTA. Mark Gilmore's the main coach, and it costs around £12,500 a year, but that's including everything with equipment and travel, because they have to travel around to all the different schools on the island. The aim of it is just to show youngsters about tennis, give them an insight and try and maybe move them forward onto performance and different levels. This year was the first year it was relaunched, because it was launched in 2012 and stopped for a year, then started again last year in 2014. They ran a tournament and had over 500 kids there, which were 20, and also Caesar Tennis Club saw a 20% increase in junior members this year, which shows that it's been really effective. It meets all the aims of the children because they can carry on, and they don't. A lot of people don't just stop. A lot of people enjoy tennis because it's quite an enjoyable sport. It's quite a few cross-cutting agendas, because the Caesar Tennis Club offer things like club nights on Friday nights, so it gets children off the streets and give them something to focus on as well.